Hey everyone, very excited to chat. It's Pranay Parikh from Ascent Equity Group. Today we're talking about something we don't normally talk about. For all of our investments, it's usually US citizens invested in the US with real estate. But we always want to be able to help people that are maybe not our exact target audience. And people come to me all the time as physicians trying to invest in American real estate that we know does very well, but they're not US citizens or they need green cards, and we just don't have an opportunity for them. So today we're talking to an immigration lawyer and Manuel, who works with First Pathway Partners. Uh, hey everyone, how's it going?
Good. How
Hey,
about you?
Pranay. Uh,
Good to
do-
good to see you.
Good to see you again. Yeah, yeah. So Manuel, I'll have you introduce yourself first.
Yeah, my name is Manuel Ortiz. I'm the VP of Business Development for First Pathway Partners. And what we'll be talking about is EB5, which is a program that's been around since the 90s. And we'll just be talking a little bit about that, H1B to EB5, those steps. And we're really looking forward to talking to everybody out there that's interested.
And I promise we will talk about how that's related to real estate. So that'll be the point at the end. Jinhee, would love to hear a little bit more about yourself.
Well, my name is Jinhee Wilde. I am the CEO and founder of WA Law Group based in Maryland. We're a boutique immigration law firm that does business-related immigration, including investment immigration, as well as employment-based immigration. So I've been practicing for too many years, and I've been doing exclusively employment-based immigration, business immigration since 2000. So,
Awesome. Uh, and this really came about because I was hearing a lot of stories of physicians that were stuck in their job. So, because of their and Jinhee laughs because she's really helped a lot of these people, and
yeah.
it's surprising when you are able to hear these stories because there's people they're working in kind of remote areas where a lot of other people don't want to work and they're stuck maybe getting poor pay or getting a ton of patients and they feel stuck and it kind of sucks to be in that position and uh, my heart went out to these people, and then I heard that Jinhee and Manuel are able to help these part. And Jinhee's husband is actually a physician, so she really has a deep connection with people that are they're stuck, and they're not able to they're not able to get where they want to be, travel around the US, work where they want. So Ginny would just love to hear about some of these people and how you've kind of helped them get out of this feeling of the walls kind of closing in.
Mm. Well, I mean, I was shocked to see so many Indian nationals, doctors that have been working under H1B for 10 plus years. And with the US immigration, it's a visa system, and there is only certain number of visas available for each year. And then um, each country has a per country quota as well each year. So as an example, if you have 10,000 visas and only 7% per country is allotted, Indian nationals get 700 visas, that kind of thing. So it's just ridiculous how long this process takes. What is nice that I've been able to help them with in middle of 2015, 16, 17 is that um, through the investment immigration process, which is called EB5, um, we were able to have the doctors file the immigrant petition, which is I-526, that immigrant petition allowed them to quickly get the green card, not 15 years, 20 years, but 5. So I have worked with First Pathway Partners with their JW Marriott project. That's where the real estate component comes in. They were able to invest in building or renovating the JW Marriott near Disney parks in Anaheim, and these Indian national doctors were able to get their green card much quicker than they would have under an EB2 or NIW or things like that that is available to the physicians.
Manuel, you almost didn't come to the US if it wasn't for your grandfather that was able to get you here. Would love to hear kind of that story and how immigration affected you.
Yeah, and I mean, the EB5 program really is something that is near and dear to my heart. As you mentioned, my grandfather back in the early 1900s was coming from Spain, but both him and his brother both wanted to come, and they owned a candle making manufacturing company in Spain, and they both wanted to come. And back then, you only had two ways to do it. You either fought it out or you flipped a coin. And so fortunately, I come from a very loving family, and they flipped a coin, and my grandfather won it. And so he came to the US. He came in through Ellis Island, went to New York, Philadelphia, went to LA, in your backyard, owned a hotel there, and then migrated to South Texas and founded a dairy farm. And so if you think about what he did, right, he migrated to the US in search of the American dream, created jobs, right, had a positive impact on the community. But the difference is that for him, he had a 50% proposition, a 50-50 proposition there, because the flip of a coin, if he wouldn't have won that, he would have never have come, and I may not even be here. So I think that's where we get to I may not even be here thing. Whereas with EB5, when you work with a capital firm like First Pathway Partners that's been around since 2008, we have a 100% approval record in investors obtaining their permanent green card. You know, that's much better odds than that 50%. And, you know, I would just add that with the EB5 program, it's been around since the 1990s, and it was initially created to spur economic development in the US. So it allows for the applicant, spouse, and unmarried children under the age of 21 to obtain permanent residency. Now, after 2 years, if the investment is maintained and has created at least 10 jobs, so each investor has to create at least 10 jobs, the investor becomes a permanent green card holder, right? So I think that that's what the EB5 program in a historical context, where it came from. From our side of it, we provide the investment for that. I actually think I've stated that JW Marriott, Jinhee, but prior to me even joining First Pathway Partners. So, and so we bring the investment part of it. It's a long-term relationship, and it's the same thing with the immigration attorney like Jinhee, where it's a long-term relationship as well. But the important thing is to work with an immigration attorney that has a long and successful track record, and an investment firm like ours that has a long and successful track record as well.
And that's why I wanted to bring you both on here, because that's where the real estate is, because it's not, you know, it's a good amount of money that you're investing, but it's invested in high quality assets. And what we've seen people just buy dirt and they get rejected. And that's why First Pathway Partners are, it's good that someone has this track record, just like Jinhee does with her approvals. And I know your current project is the Montage. You know how I feel about the Montage. I love it. And so, Jinhee, I would love to talk about the process of just big overview of kind of the steps. Like I'm on a visa and I'm interested in EB5. What do I kind of do next?
Okay. Well, EB5, as I said before, is an immigrant visa program. That means you get a green card at the end. And there are 3 steps to the process. which is why it takes so long. But first step is the immigrant petition process, I-526. And in that, you have two components. One is the business component that is provided by First Pathway Partners, for example, that outlines what the business is all about, how they are going to execute that business, and the most important component is how many jobs is that project going to create. So when you work with very reliable and regional center that has good track record like First Pathway Partners, they have all of that nicely summed up in their offering document. So you have that as one component. The other component is the investment funds that the investors will invest into First Pathway Partners project. And that $850,000 of the investment funds needs to be sourced from legal means. In other words, you cannot take gambling money to put into it, but you need to show how they gather that funds and then show it dollar for dollar how that money moved. So for example, if I'm making $300,000 a year as a physician, that salary is deposited into a checking account, savings account, whatever, direct deposit, right? And then you have your expenses, family expenses all taken care of, and you have, you know, $50,000, $100,000 a year that you can save. That savings, you're not going to put it into just a, you know, cash only kind of checking account these days, right? So you're going to invest that money. So you need to show that money coming in, salary coming into a checking account to an investment account. That investment account sends it to another investment account, what have you. So all of that money movement needs to be tracked dollar for dollar. And we need to put that all together with a nice summary for USCIS officers to review, business component, source of fund, and that's what immigrant petition is all about. It is, and then second step is the either adjustment of status, I-485 adjustment of status, which means you are adjusting or changing status from what you have now, H1B, to a green card application process. So that is number 2 step. Number 3 step is after 2 years of having a conditional green card, you have to remove that condition to get a permanent green card. So at that third step, you need to show what you have promised as I am going to invest $850,000. And here it is, I actually invested $150,000. And then with that money, you have, I'm going to create 10 plus jobs. And you're going to show that you have actually created 10 plus jobs. So that's how you remove the condition at the third step. And you have to work with the regional center to show that they have actually created those jobs by building JW Marriott. And then you have actually invested the money by showing the receipt of the deposit into that project account, and it stayed there for 2+ years. So that's how the 3-step process goes. And it takes as long as 7 to 10 years now from step number 1 through 3. One nice thing is that as of last year, those people who's filing the immigrant petition, and you're actually in the United States on a valid visa status like H1B, you can actually file the second step adjustment of status application together with immigrant petition application. So you don't have to be tied to the H1B anymore. You can stay legally, work legally under the adjustment of status process, or adjustment of status. That's a pending status. So that's the nice thing. It frees you up almost immediately now. So that is the new twist. You don't have to take number 1, number 2 steps separately like you used to. You can combine the two.
So it's like a temporary green card, right?
Yeah,
While you're
yeah, while
so
you're
that
pending. And if
while
you
you're
are,
pending, yeah.
yeah, and if you are, working with the, regional center that knows what they're doing and they have 100% track record, you can be assured that you will get approval and you don't have to be afraid of losing your status anymore.
Yeah. Manuel, I'd love to talk a little bit about the investment side. Talk about kind of how the returns work, and the fact that this is an investment. You actually get your money back. This is not something like, oh, hey, I'm paying all this money to get a green card. It's something that's going to earn you cash, not a ton, but more than inflation. And it's something that kind of grows with you, and you get all your money back.
That's exactly right. And I think the way that I like to talk to investors about just EB5 and the investment side of things is that when an investor is conducting their due diligence, they really have to look at two things. One thing is the project fundamentally sound on the immigration side of things, right? Is this the way that the investment is creating jobs? Is it acceptable by USCIS, which is who reviews this stuff? And the immigration attorney like Jinhee, who's very experienced in this, would be able to tell, okay, this is the way that the jobs are being created. They review the economic study and all those sorts of things. So it has to be fundamentally sound on the immigration side. Oftentimes, investors, when they're looking at this, they just look at it from the immigration lens and say, okay, hey, this works on the immigration side, and completely forget about the investment side of things, which is tied to getting your money back. And so I think there, with a project like the one that we have now, it's in the Coachella Valley, so in your backyard. Once it's completed, please go check it out. It's currently under construction. It's a Montage and a Pendry hotel. For the first time, they're on the same property. It has an Arnold Palmer golf course. It's ultra luxury, very nice project. But on the investment side, why is it important? Well, it's important because there's a need for this particular type of investment. If you look at the hotel rooms that were in the Coachella Valley, back in 2003, it was like 13 or 14,000 hotel rooms. If you look at that number in 2022, it's exactly the same. As you know, to build in California, it's not the easiest thing. And so for this, there was no new product of hotels being built. And so when people go stay in the Coachella Valley, right, they're typically going to be renting or doing an Airbnb or staying at some of these older hotels. Well, now that you have record tourism, last year was a record year in terms of tourism for people wanting to go to the Coachella Valley, whether it's for festivals or in the post-pandemic era that there's a need to connect with nature, be outdoors. Well, now you need something like this, right? And I think that if you look at the location of the project, you're able to draw from 26 million people, the people that live in Los Angeles County, San Diego County, Orange County. And so there's an actual need for this. And so I think sometimes, when you look at a market like Austin, Texas last year, you look at multifamily, everybody says, everybody likes to move to Texas. The rate at which people are going to move to Texas is not going to be like it was during the pandemic. That's actually going to slow. People are still going to come, but not at that rate. Austin, Texas, about a year to 2 years ago, led the country in multifamily construction permits. So what does that mean, right? How many of those apartments are coming online, and are you going to get into an overbuild situation, right? With something like this, you have the exact opposite of that. There's a need for this type of product. It's the first one there. And so an investor, when they look at it from a due diligence perspective, can feel, okay, this is a debt product. We're providing a loan to the developer, and there's an actual need for this. So it's important to look at it from an immigration standpoint and also looking at the investment thesis.
Well, I think that's really, really important to note, because number one of any real estate business, as you know, is I'm not a real estate lawyer, but as you know, is the market. Is there a market for that particular build? There is a cautionary tale on EB5 World several years ago that made headlines. Was there was a group of a regional center that said, we're going to build a hotel near O'Hare Airport, and collected, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars, many from actually Indian nationals. And it when that project failed because the person was not honest person who defrauded these investors, we later learned that the project also did not have the market viability. There were so many hotels near O'Hare Airport. This particular hotel was not needed. You would have had like 30% occupancy rate instead of 85 or higher occupancy rate that you're looking for. So, if you're going to, yes, EB5 requirement is that you put your investment at risk. However, you need to do everything you can to minimize that risk by due diligence of picking the right regional center that has done all three steps 100% well. One is getting your conditional green card approved. Second is removing that condition by creating the jobs that they promised. And three, returning your original investment. And you don't want to go with a regional center that just recently started and has no track record, because they don't know what they're doing, and they may fail. So you want to go with the regional center that has done time and time again successfully all three steps. And with a lawyer, you don't want to go with the immigration lawyer that has never done EB5 work, because it's a completely different kinds of practice. You want to go with someone who has done it over and over again with 100% track record.
Manuel, I would love to talk to you about life after EB5. So I know you've taken thousands of people now through the EB5 process, but what do you do as an investor? You get your money back typically with a decent return. What do you do after that with that money?
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting question, and something that comes up quite often. And when you mentioned that I've worked with thousands of investors, I think, wow, how long have I been involved in EB5? But it really has been about 10 years,
Yeah.
and that number is pretty close.
Mhm.
And typically when you come out of the EB5 program, I think there are a couple things to look at. One is, obviously moving your family to the U.S. If you're already here, you're pretty familiar with things. But oftentimes when you're moving your family to the U.S., there are a lot of things that you need to learn, from getting a driver's license. What school should I put my child in? What are school districts? Like, what is that? And what is car insurance? There's so many things. And Jinhee, I see you laughing, and I know that you have to deal with this too, because, this process is such a long-term relationship that you really build very meaningful relationships with your investors. And you definitely don't want to steer them the wrong way. But there are a lot of things that people need to consider as they're coming out of the program. One of which is, okay, what type of investment options are actually out there? And I would just say that, typically, you would want to look at something that is more on the conservative side as you're learning, and do things in a bite-sized way. rather than going, all in on something just for the very first time. Because I think it does take a little bit of time to get familiar with the way that US investing actually works. And I know the topic of passive investing is something that's near and dear to your heart. That's what Ascent Equity Group is. But from the EB5 side, maybe if you could talk a little bit about Ascent Equity Group and what passive investing would actually mean to somebody coming out of the EB5 program.
Yeah, so what we do is we buy, as a Ascent Equity Group, is founded by three physicians. We still practice medicine, and we wanted to do real estate a little bit differently, kind of like how we practice medicine. So conservative, really trying to make sure that everyone is taken care of, including our tenants. And so what we do is we buy big apartment complexes because housing is a basic need. We renovate them and we sell them. So, we'll hold them from 3 to 5 years. We'll buy anywhere from 2 to 300 units. And it's nice because you get, unlike hotels, you don't really have to worry about being seasonal. People just always need a place to live. We make them nice, we make them safe, we make sure they're clean, and we just provide a good housing for people. And a lot of times we make good returns from that because the US real estate market is really the best in the world. And everyone is trying to get in, but not everyone is able to invest, including us. We're not able to take foreign investors, but once someone is EB5, it actually makes sense to reach out to us, and we're able to give, anywhere from a 10 to 15% return IRR, and that's after all fees and everything. So it's fortunately a lot higher than you're able to get on the debt side, but it is typically only for either US citizens or green cards. So it's a nice way to be able to really kind of diversify your portfolio on top of the stock market because right now in 2023 the stock market and the bond market and really everything's down, but real estate's rock solid and it's still doing pretty well.
As
Pranay, let me ask you.
my I guess grandfather-in-law used to say, "You don't make any more land." So
Yeah, I love
real
it.
estate, real
Yeah.
estate is a nice thing to round out your investment, diversified investment, I guess. So thank you for giving me giving me a food for thought.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Pranay.
Manuel, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, quick thing. I wanted to ask just to clarify, because oftentimes for EB5 projects, we talk about them being development projects, right? And
Mhm.
so maybe if you could talk a little bit about, so what you're saying is that you're going out and you're buying apartments that are already, let's say 85 to 95% occupied. And then you're basically renovating the units that become available as leases expire. So if you're an investor coming through, there is some cash flow, a little bit quicker than you would see on a development deal. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
that's a great point. So we, as very conservative, risk-averse physicians, we really try to take as much risk off the table as we can. So we look for in-place cash flow, meaning the property is making some money. I know a lot of your investors in EB5 and First Pathway, they're businessmen or women, and what they look for is cash, making money, right? And that's what we look for in apartments. We want to be able to take rents, collect rents, and give it to our investors. And so I personally own some of my own real estate. It sucks. I hate having to manage them. I hate getting phone calls. I hate talking to property managers. I hate real estate agents. Not the people, just having to do that process. And it takes up so much of my time. So instead, I'm able to invest in with a group of people, buy an existing property, right? So you take a lot of development and governmental risk off the table and do some light renovations, or even sometimes we buy something that's just been built, and then we don't have to worry about any renovations at all. And what we implement is kind of a business plan. It's called a lease up, where we've been doing this for so long that we go in, we know how to get people to the property, how to increase rents, how to make it uh, operationally efficient, meaning how to take care of maintenance, just make sure we have happy tenants, and happy tenants are willing to pay for what we offer. And you're right. So because it's not development, because the property is already there, there's already tenants that are paying. The cash flow is almost immediate and takes a lot of risk off the table.
It just reminds me of how I do business. Happy clients, they don't mind paying your fee. So it's the it's the same
Exactly,
thing.
exactly. It's the people that go on LegalZoom
Yeah.
and create an LLC, and then you pay on the back end, right? A
Yeah.
good real estate. I mean, it's just it pays to take care of. I mean, it's the same thing in medicine. Like I don't want to be shopping around for a knee replacement. I just want to
Right.
figure out who's the best and work hard to afford that, right? Because
Yeah, you can't
the
find that on eBay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It just, and
Absolutely.
especially with the EB5, the H1B, your
Mhm.
immigration status is so important for your family. I know,
Mhm.
Jinhee, you worked with a physician who got their grandparents or their parents over, and
Mhm.
that's not something you want to trust to just some random person.
No, it's true. The immigration process, I take care of my clients like they're my own family, because after working with them for 5 to 10 years, they literally become your part of the family. They After you take care of their needs, they go, "Oh, I have my nieces and nephews that I want to do things for," or I'm sponsoring my mother, or I want to invest so that my mother can do the EB5, my father can do the EB5, things like that. So even those physicians who are already citizens, they might have relatives that they might need help, and they can lend them the money, or they can gift them the money from here. EB5 doesn't have to be foreign money coming in. It just needs to be investment money coming in. So, H1B physicians can do it for themselves, or doctors who have elderly parents they want to bring in, and um, they might need to use the EB5 route as opposed to a immediate relative, because they're still under, they're still under the a green card process themselves. So I think there are a lot of ways that particularly Indian nationals, with the visa quota being what it is, can benefit from the EB5 visa program.
I think there's more than 700 people that want to come to America from India.
I think so every year. I mean, it's just, you know, they need to do something about this per country quota. I think getting rid of it all at once is going to create a havoc, but some sort of phase in, or just increase the visa numbers each year
It's
from
horrible that we have people that go to med school, go to residency, are full-time
exactly.
attendings, and
Yeah,
then we're like, okay, bye.
I
Even though
know.
we
I
have
know.
this
Yeah,
physician shortage in
yeah.
the US. So,
Uh,
that's why I wanted to bring you two on board, even though it's not something we do. Hopefully this helps some people, and really our goal is just to educate and help as many people as possible.
we're here to help.
Most
Awesome.
definitely.
Manuel, if people want to reach out to you, where is the best place to send them?
The best place is my email. They can reach me directly at mortiz, that's M as in Manuel, Ortiz at firstpathway.com.
Awesome. And we'll have that in the show notes. And Jinhee, where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
JWILDE at WALawUSA.com.
Awesome. Thank you too. Really appreciate your time. Have a good one.
Okay.